To it was when I was about like 13, 14, there was an era of MTV. Like in the mornings, they would play these like Sandstorm or,
I can't tell you how many times people tells me Sandstorm.
those cheesy early 2000s stuff. And, it just clicked, and there was just this like, I'm kind of into it. I'm kind of into it. And then in high school, Skrillex came out.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
And then I was like, this right here is something I really want to learn how to do.
Okay.
And I kind of, my first rave was Love Parade in San Francisco in 2009. I ditched school.
Love Parade. Is that the one that they had in Union Square?
Mm-hmm.
They like basically blocked off everything.
Mm-hmm.
So funny you mention it, actually. 2 days ago, I interviewed another friend. His name is B Chang. You'll see him. He was at that same event, and we were just talking about Love Parade too. So they basically was like an art card, right? Everyone had parade floats, and each one had essentially a stage, a mobile stage, right?
Yep. And you just would vibe out with whoever.
That is awesome. How old were you when you were going to that?
I was like 15, 16. I would ditch school.
Yeah.
I would go.
I love that.
Yeah, dude. Like it was like
Same school kids.
Yeah, like Cerveza, the first cup kind of.
They don't even have that show anymore, I think, right?
And they got rid of How Weird. I don't know if you know How Weird is. It's kind of same vibe, but they have like planted stages, and it was the last year that they did it in San Francisco, so it's like kind of like a.
Honestly, I don't even feel like they really do much anything like that these days. This is like whole blocks.
No,
squared off. At least not in California anymore.
No, it's a shame. Yeah, I really enjoyed those types of parties.
Yeah. And then, so you were becoming a producer, and then what was the genre that you kind of gravitated towards at the time?
It was like Oliver Heldings-ish type of kind of house-ish.
Yeah.
Still poppy, but then it turned into like Dirtybird, that era, like that good era of Dirtybird.
Fun. Yep.
No. And then it got into some more darker versions.
Yeah.
Minimal techno.
Okay. So I actually want to talk, because you mentioned Dirtybird. And have you done the Dirtybird campouts? Have you?
I never got to camp out.
Okay.
I was always around. Like I went to a couple of barbecues, and I
love the barbecues.
Barbecues are
so great.
Yeah. And I went to a couple of just their one-off like club events, and Justin Martin's.
I love Justin Martin.
The one that yeah.
I remember, because like for me, my first show was, what was it called? Something Loud, or it's down in San Diego. It's one of like the more what's that flume type of music? The house future bass. It's kind of like that. It was great. I loved it. That kind of like broke the glass into raving for me. But what really like solidified me was my first Dirtybird camp out. I went to one rave, and then my buddy told me, he's like, "Hey, we're going to Dirtybird." I was like, I don't know what that is, but I was like, fuck it, let's go. And then
you got the era where it's just like it really felt like it was for the community.
That's what I loved.
And that's where I just
fell in love with it. Yeah, dude. It was Dirtybird was like, you can be as weird as you want, and people will love you for it. The music's weird, the vibe's weird, but it's like all out of love. Everyone accepts you, everyone looks out for you. Honestly, it's a real shame that like they don't really have a lot of Dirtybird camp. They don't have Dirtybird camp anymore
at all. No.
Or not even the barbecue, honestly.
It seems like they've just kind of divulged into a record label, but there's no shame into them, because they're releasing great music. But I think some of the community has unfortunately kind of been
it happens. The whole COVID thing definitely affected it too, but at least we were lucky enough to get to experience it and talk about it. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So at least right now where you're at, would you say your productions have been more house based, more techno based?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Yeah. Where do you kind of fall now?
I am falling right in between.
Okay.
And in the more darker sense, darker tunes, darker feel, but it's definitely a house groove. It's got a really groovy bass line.
Yeah.
But it's still veers in a techno feeling.
Yeah. So you haven't gone far to the point where it's like the hard hitting kicks and very fast. Would you say it's like more on the melodic techno side with a more darker groove to it?
Yeah. Lately, I have been really working with chord progressions and vocalist and like like original vocalist and really
Yeah.
focusing on songwriting and really like.
So in your productions, you said you work with vocalists. Are they more like friends? Do you hire them? Or?
I hired professional musicians to get on my tracks, and I find them in online or wherever I can get in where I can fit in.
Yeah. And so you said you do songwriting as well. How is that? Because I feel like that's like just production on another level.
It's a whole
It's a whole animal on itself.
Yes.
Like even trying to mix vocals in a track is already hard enough.
Yeah. This year in particular has been the divulging into that world, into trying to be able to potentially have a bigger reach because of the songwriting itself.
Yeah.
To make it a little bit more digestible for a wider audience. And
and just so like you're writing the lyrics down.
Writing the lyrics down and then potentially sending to those vocalists, or I help with them writing those lyrics.
I see.
Send them the tune. They kind of send me some scratch and see what,
Do you kind of give them a little bit, hey, this is what the topic, I mean, you obviously have to have some sort of topic on the vocal. Do you just tell them like?
It depends.
Yeah.
It depends. Sometimes I'm like, hey, run with it. How are you feeling?
Oh, okay.
And I think giving some of that freedom up is.
Yeah, artistic freedom definitely brings out the best.
Yeah, and I'm like, how are you feeling? Like, that's what I want you to,
Yeah, especially when you hear a song, like what emotion is evoking. And usually if you trust the feeling, it comes out much better than you would have if you just try to force it out.
Yeah, so like sometimes I'm like, this is how I'm feeling. And sometimes what I write down might not be what needs to go into the song. So having that like push
and
pull between artists.
So how many tracks have you released? Do you know?
I've only released 3 or like 8.
Okay.
But you
got a library.
The 2025 is the year I'm really going to start releasing music.
Okay.
And
self-release or
I'm working with this label called Soul State.
They sound very familiar.
Yeah, Soul State, they're built out of Vegas. That's kind of where I started getting a little bit of my traction. And I'm going to be pretty much running a lot of their label relations type stuff. So,
okay.
Yeah, I'm going to be.
That's exciting, dude. Okay.
And then I'm going to be doing a little bit of like remix self-releasing and sending out to labels and doing that.
You said remix. You do a lot of like bootlegs or?
Yeah, I'm going to be trying to do some bootlegs. And
that sounds fun.
Yeah,
all right.
Trying to do some fun little ones.
I think honestly, like having those types of tracks keeps it interesting, I mean, it's always nice to have purely original tracks, but sometimes like you hear like some lyrics, I'm like, I'm wondering what it would sound like in that warehouse if I just throw it like a 4x4 kick drum on there and then let's see what happens.
And the creation of it, it's so much faster than like painstakingly going through something and that's like original and like you could just quickly grab this vocal because it's so good and you can just build it from there. And that's the fun of it, and I think that's amazing.
Yeah, and you mentioned you were doing like more chord progression stuff, right? So obviously that kind of delves into the whole music theory side. Are you just self-teaching? Are you doing mentorships?
I got into a mentorship with this guy called Slumberjack.
Slumberjack, okay.
Big bass guy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, big bass trap artist. But boy, his music theory is he's one of the most knowledgeable people I know personally. Yeah, he's a beast on the piano.
So whatever he has in his mind, like, he just play it, and the bam, it's right there.
Not only that, he can grab your tune and be like, "Hey, you're off one semitone. You just got to go down right here." And and it's hard to find people like that are that skilled.
Yeah.
Where it's like I know music theory, and that's who I've been kind of like learning from and trying to get as much as I can. he's years ahead of me, but like,
Are we talking about maybe like once a month, or is it more of a weekly thing?
Yeah, I try to do it weekly. Right now, I'm in a bi-weekly schedule.
Yeah.
About 6 months ago, I was on a weekly schedule. Up until now, I've got a good enough library where we're both confident that like we can kind of start really testing this out.
Yeah. And then so, because I've done mentorships with DJs, and each one has their specialty. It sounds like his is music theory. Was that something you were specifically looking for? Like, I want to learn music theory.
Yeah. So I'm enrolled. I was enrolled in this thing called Rising Icons, which is like a little.
When they went.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we can bring it forward a little bit.
Which is kind of like a little learning group for producers.
Yeah.
And they give little feedback sessions, and he just stood out in terms of the one that like had the most music theory knowledge. And I was like, okay, I'm going to stick with the person that has this deep understanding of music theory.
Was it by mistake you found him, or was it kind of like you knew of him for a while?
No, it was completely by mistake. It was absolutely completely by mistake. The way he was mentoring me is what I needed. So
mentoring is like, his style is, what is it, like very direct and to the point? He is like, no,
the melody, this melody isn't smooth. You can make this,
Wow.
The music. He really taught me the music theory aspect, and then went into the songwriting aspect, and then we kind of started getting into the mixing, mastering aspect, where I was kind of a little bit already kind of okay at. So that aspect, mixing, mastering, was okay on my end, but the songwriting and the music theory is kind of where I liked a lot.
Let's just go ahead and just raise this up a bit. So that's okay. I think we're just getting your adjustments. So when you're talking right there. So, let's see. So we're talking about that, and then when did you start with him?
2 years ago.
Okay, 2 years. So you've been doing this for a while.
Yeah. This is launch. This is 2025 is launch.
Damn. Okay, 2-year personal project.
This is
grind. Weekly to bi-weekly. Like you've been doing. Okay. I mean, did you kind of compare yourself yet, like to see the day one what you used to make versus now?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I started off with this project. It's a dead project. It's called Doomsdead, and I still have my first couple of projects on there. And sometimes I go and I'm like, oh man, that guy would be so proud of me.
I love that. Yeah. Because when I moved out here, I needed a new computer, so I got a new one, and then obviously I transferred all my project files, and then I was like, let's do spring cleaning. Let's go through everything. And then the older projects came out, and then I found my very first one, and I'm like, damn, holy crap. Actually, like what you just said, like, I'm proud of this guy. If myself 5 years ago saw myself, I was like, good shit.
That's what it's about, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely what it's about.
So are you kind of, for next year, you said you have a lot of tracks coming out. Is it just a set amount, or are you just going to keep pushing them out as they come along, kind of?
I'm going to try for once a month.
Once a month?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
That's
once
pretty
a
good.
month. Yeah, once a month. 1 or 2 songs. But I'm going to focus on just one once.
No, honestly, and that's the thing, especially now, given the amount of competition we're dealing with. People obviously we want to put the best quality we want, right? And we want to put out the best of the best, but that takes time. And the second time, like starting off, you kind of need to do more volume. You got to push out a lot of tracks. I always hear my mentors tell me, like, you just got to keep producing, keep putting it out there. John Summit, I think he would every year was 40, 60 tracks before his one kind of took off. Which is hard because I don't know how your producing style is. For me, I take a long ass time to make one track just because I'm very particular on the sound.
Of course.
So for you, how long would it take you to say to get a track done?
That's such a hard question.
Average, yeah.
That's still super hard because I work on so many things.
Oh, okay.
So once I get even remotely tired,
yeah,
even if it's 5 minutes past, I'm like, all right, I'll just skip on to the next thing. So it just ends up being a huge catalog of things that are pretty decent.
Yeah.
So now that's how I've collected. Realistically, I've got 30 tracks ready.
Yeah.
for next year. Like they're done.
Next master.
Yeah,
Ready to go.
they're ready to go.
And you do your own mixing and mastering?
I do my own mixing, and depending on the label,
Okay. They
don't-
might want
they
to
might
mix their own.
or might be like, hey, this master needs to get work done, and then I'll send it
Yeah,
out.
yeah.
Yeah, but
Okay.
but most of them are mixed mastered by me.
And because like that's one thing I've been trying to get to is the mixing and mastering, but even that is like almost a science on itself for sure. And I'm assuming the mentorship really helped with that, huh?
The mix master, a lot of that was self-taught.
Oh,
That was a lot of me just grinding away and just being super particular about what an EQ is, what a compressor is, what this is, what that is.
really understand.
Just really diving into like even like the guidebooks of like the compressor.
That's what I tell everyone, especially when you're starting off. It's so easy to want to buy all the plugins, especially now because Black Friday coming. I know there's a lot of people out there who want to buy a lot of plugins.
Absolutely.
But I always tell people is like, especially when you get your first DAW, read the manual. Read the manual, because when I did that. I started to read the manual, and then honestly, like majority of my mixing and my mastering and even my sound design, it's all Ableton plugins now. Like very rarely do I pull out like a third party one is for something very particular. Ableton is a very powerful tool, especially for house and techno, in my opinion. So good on you for reading the manual in my yeah. Honestly.
That glue compressor is amazing. There's there's what other compressor, like you don't need a lot. You don't need a lot.
And I think the best advice I would ever give people is like, don't get caught in the fanciness of the plugin or the features. Everyone goes through it. You get all the nice stuff. You get so caught up in everything. It's overcomplicated. It's oversaturated. It's over distorted. My whole thing now is like keeping my production simple, just keep it clean, let things breathe. And do you feel like for you, that's how kind of you've progressed? You kind of got caught up in that wave and
Oh yeah, I think it's everybody's journey, right? Like like well, maybe not for the lucky ones. It's not.
Yeah.
But like I've always like I used to buy plugins all the time and just try to. But then I really started just dialing in what I use, which is very minimal.
Yeah.
Like pretty much a kick 2 serum and samples. Yeah. That's all I pretty much use. And
so give me one favorite plugin that you use. Like what's your top one you use all the time outside of Ableton?
Shaper Box and Serum are the two VSPs.
Those are classics. Yeah, I love Shaper Box.
It just gives you automatic sidechain compression.
You can tune it how just you want with the release and the attack and everything.
And you can add groove with the noise and just all different ways to use it, and it's just very easy to intuitive to use. It's an amazing product.
Do you I'm assuming you do a lot of your own sound design?
Yeah, most of it.
So how do I explain this? Do you separate your production side from your sound design, or do you kind of mix and match whenever you feel like? And
no, those go together.
Okay.
Yeah. As I'm arranging the track, it's kind of like what needs to be here.
Yeah.
And then I'll kind of figure it out from
Okay.
there. Yeah. I don't really go like have my own presets and stuff. I just kind of like figure it out. I'll have a square wave and just kind of throw it out. And
yeah.
So,
but you've gotten to a point where you're like, all right, I need a pad. Let's go ahead and just mess around and turn some knobs. Do you use any hardware?
I do. I've got an SH01A.
Very familiar.
Yeah, it's a Roland SH01A. It's a gray little box. It's a super good bass little beast.
Is it by Behringer?
No. It's a Roland.
It's Roland.
Yeah,
okay.
Roland. And I do have the Behringer 303. And
how's that?
I don't like programming on it, but the SH01A is something I do use.
Yeah. Does that one require programming as well?
Yeah. It has a MIDI in, and you can it'll just audio out, and that's how I use it.
And your sound, at least, is it a more of an acid sound that it produces? Is it SH108?
It can get pretty gritty, but it's
more of a groove box, you would say.
Yeah. I mean, it's just got a really good square wave, a really good triangle wave and look good, you know.
But it's very simple, right?
Oh, it's a straightforward. It's
Straightforward, yeah.
super straightforward, simple one oscillator type of synthesizer.
Oh.
Very powerful, but does
I
what
love
it
that
needs to.
actually. It's kind of simple is better. It gives you room to like breathe and try different things. Because you know, I have a Moog Sub 37. I love it. It is the war is touching my soul. But you know, there was a point where I started to delve into the whole modular synthesizer. Fun world to be a part of. So fun. If you like getting wacky sounds and trying new things, definitely I would tell people to try it out. But just a lot, you know. So I was like, all right, I need to cut back. What do I want to do? So I kind of just leaned out my whole setup, and all I use now is just the Sub 37 and a Eventide space reverb.
Oh,
You know,
man, those I love those things.
it's just a great reverb. Just touches the soul in a way.
Eventide makes the best reverbs too.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think that's how I like it too. Just kind of strip back. I do play with keyboards, but
just to have some like tactile feel. Yeah.
But most of it is just terrible.
Especially because when it comes to melodic stuff, you kind of need that human element to it. I've tried to, like, when you program on Ableton, everything is always kind of grid-like. It's kind of hard to give a little bit more. I mean, there's features where you can give more human feel, but nothing beats like hands to a keyboard.
Yeah, just missing it by a 32 or just, you know, it just adds that.
Or like how hard you hit it also gives a bigger difference. If you hit the bass harder than your highs or vice versa, completely vibe. So for your productions, your music, what would you say is one key feature that is a Polliwog?
Polliwog.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Yeah. A sound, like a Polliwog sound.
Like I love psytrance. So the psytrance bass line, like that.
Okay. The hard,
not necessarily hard, but the groove of that.
Yeah.
That rolling kind of dugga. Not necessarily the techno style, like that rolling.
The hard hitting one,
more like the
straightforward.
Yeah, it's more. Yeah, it has that more groove. That's kind of where I like to live. The darker stuff, but groovy. I love groove. I love groove. I love swing. And that's lost in a lot of.
You just took the word right out of my mouth. I have to say,
no shade, but I, in my opinion, it's sometimes lost in some of the stuff that's going on right now.
Oh, for sure. I think because like there's such a big push on the higher BPMs, and what I've learned, the higher the BPM is, the less groove you get. You know, and that's why like a lot of houses 123, 124, some 28 depending, but it's so much fun, and it sounds faster because the groove is really there. There's a lot of space to hear the swing and the syncopation. 150. Where are you gonna get syncopation when your kick is already like about to come in after like the hi-hat?
There's no room.
Yeah,
there's no room, and I think for me it tops out at 132.
Yes.
Once you get past that, I'm like, for me, and that's all a taste thing, right? But for me, I'm like, okay, I just feel like I'm not in the groove.
Yeah. And that's where people get lost in the sauce. I always say is like once you just hear those great grooves, and you're like, keep playing and keep going.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I love that you said 132 because that is like 130, 132 is my sweet spot, and especially because my productions tend to be more melodic based. It gives me room to kind of let the chords open up and breathe and build to something bigger.
I love that.
Yeah. Have you ever heard any of my music before?
No. Surprisingly, okay. No.
I don't have a lot of releases.
Regardless, send me some.
I got you. Sign out links right now.
It was to go.
Okay. And then what about, let's maybe talk more about your DJing right now. Do you do anything different, or is mostly just like usually CDJs, and then do you mix on 2 channels, or?
I'm in terms of DJing, I'm very basic.
Yeah.
I just like my 2 CDJs, 2 channels. Hopefully there's a 4-channel EQ. I like the 4-channel. Or no,
I was saying the 4-band.
The 4-band EQ.
Yeah. So a lot of do you use a zone mixing?
I love the Zone. I love the V10.
Okay.
Those are the ones I kind of love.
V10 is the
The
big boy.
Yeah.
The
But
pioneer.
I don't care for the extra channels, the audio channels.
Yeah.
But the extra EQ
EQs.
bands. Yeah, that really.
You know, funny thing is that Deuce says like having his show on Sunday, and I think he's struggling a little bit with the zone right now because like it's just the 2 extra mids. Definitely, if you're not used to that, definitely throws you off. But I'm assuming you use that one because your productions are more melodic based, so you kind of need the 2 different mids to help mix 2 different melodies together.
Absolutely, and it's just easier to get in and out of transitions when I have a little bit more control over the mix.
Yeah. And do you mix in key?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Every time.
Oh yeah, when it comes to melodics,
I'm one of those guys that just labels all their music and
record
key
box?
and mixing key to record box to
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
So get the lettering and everything.
everything, and then
It just sounds smoother.
yeah, it just sounds smoother. And what's nice if you start to know more theory, right, is that you can do certain inversions that can really like make it sound like different moods, and then switch. You can go across the chart. You can do different things where it sounds so cool. And yeah, that's why one of the reasons I dove into music theory, because you can really change moods up.
All right. Actually, I didn't realize that because I learned the basics where it's like, all right, 5A up to 6A is okay, up to 4A, but I didn't know you can like
Yeah, you can go from
jump
like
the grid.
one to like I want to say it's like 6
yeah.
6 or 5. You can just boom boom, and it'll still, most of the time it'll work musically.
Really?
Yeah, you just got to be careful, but like most of the time it's gonna work musically.
Do you ever transpose tracks to put them in a different key?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, if it like sometimes, like if one of my songs isn't sounding right, sometimes I'll just like, let's see what it sounds like in A minor. Let's see what it sounds like in F sharp minor. Yeah.
And so do you have any shows coming up?
I've got a private show. I've got a little house party thing I'm doing, but nothing like in terms of like legit gigs. I think maybe until January.
Oh, what's happening in January?
There's gonna be hopefully a Soul State release party.
Oh boy, let me know about that.
Yeah, so we're gonna be starting up the label hopefully in January. That's gonna start off with one of my releases, and we're gonna hopefully do a little label release.
All right. So tell me a little bit about Soul State then. It's something you and your friends are starting?
So Soul State is one of my friends' little group. He started in Vegas. His name's Gambit, and he just kind of started this little Soul State crew, and it's gotten pretty decent size over like in for Vegas.
Were they throwing mostly events, and then people started wanting to go out, and now they kind of are starting their own label now?
Yeah, before COVID, they were like really kicked off, and they were doing their own thing in Vegas events and stuff like that. But I think after COVID, I think everybody, like they struggled. They're struggling right now.
Yeah, even now, like I hear about how like who was it called, Lightning in the Bottle. I think that the founder was doing an interview, and he's telling me like, we don't make money anymore.
No, the costs are crazy. It's really tough.
And that's the thing about California that I've started to notice is like, in a way, it's like, I don't know if I would say dying, but it's not what it used to be, in a sense that like, a lot of the shows that you used to know and love are no longer really around. And so what's next? That's the big question now, is like, who's taking up that void? Is it just going to be warehouses now, or is there something else coming around the corner? But it sounds like Vegas is kind of on an opposite trend.
Yeah.
Where it's on the uprise.
I would say so. I think they've got some really cool crews going on right now that are pretty hungry and, pretty ready to do different things. And you can find venues out there.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then would that be something you'd move back to Vegas for?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. I love Vegas, but
yeah.
LA. It's such an amazing place to be. I love it here, and I wouldn't change it for the world. I love Vegas with all my heart, but
Yeah, yeah,
I don't see myself going back now.
yeah. Okay, so we're talking about you're gonna stay here.
Yeah, I'm here for a long time.
Okay.
But in terms of like Soul State, we are going to be throwing a lot of parties still in Vegas because that's kind of where we're known and loved and
Oh yeah, definitely. You have a reputation already there
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
So you'll more or less be bouncing back and forth between here and there. So you have that project going on. You have your productions with your mentor. You just recently had an outdoor one. We were just talking about this. You want to give a little bit details for the audience so that they know what it was?
Yeah, so I did this little camp out. It's called Camp Hero, and it's kind of like a Burning Man style kind of camp out. We just put speakers on the floor, little function ones or the smaller ones, but great sounding speakers.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just nice to test out music on those things too. You really get to hear the detail on them, and those guys are awesome. I was able to play 3.5 hours, and
I think, yeah. Now, how did that feel?
so nice. Because the nerves in the first hour sometimes can be a little bit
Takes a while, yeah.
Yeah. It takes me like 30 minutes, 30 minutes, but this time it was like I had 3 hours, so I just kind of ease into it.
This is an interesting question. What is the longest set you've ever played? It doesn't matter. It has to be official. Just like
It's like 12 hours. Yeah, I go in like I'll do overnight. Like no problem.
Back doesn't hurt or anything. You're just,
I mean, it does, but like let's go for the cause,
wow. Okay. So you have that coming up, and then so at least what do you do to kind of get gigs out here now? Like, is it more just networking? Is it just
That's a good question. Because LA gigs are hard to come by. Like
100%. Trust me, yeah.
I'm gonna be real, and I haven't really gotten the opportunity to play like in the city. I've played in like San Bernardino. I played out the skirts of the city, but
I feel like that's I mean that's how I started. My first ever event that I ever did was out in the desert in Apple Valley.
Yeah.
I mean, I fucking loved it. It was great.
That's where you start. Yeah, the same in a lot of
I feel like that's how a lot of people start.
Yeah,
It's
for
like
sure.
out in the middle of nowhere, and then you slowly build your network to get inside the city. But then once you get in the city, that's where the competition definitely shows. So you need to like, what is it called? Like, put your blood, sweat, and tears into it, and to earn yourself just as like an opening slot is already kind of tough. One thing I try to avoid is I think they're called like pay to play, where you have to get as many tickets in for you to get a set. And I'm like, personally, I don't believe in it. I think the quality of the DJ definitely needs to be there. Yeah, but sorry. So you were saying like it's definitely hard to get in. So you've been doing more outdoor stuff. Is it a goal for 2025 for you to get something in LA?
Yeah, hopefully. I'd love to do a warehouse down here. I think my sound is there. I think it'll be good. But
have you tried looking outside of LA, like to like Long Beach or even Orange County, to see if there's any opportunities there?
not really in that area. I've done Phoenix, I've done Denver, I've done I've done a couple of that, like out of state stuff. I've done Bakersfield. I've done but not OC in Long Beach.
Yeah.
Not quite.
So in your opinion, do you feel like hopefully once you start getting releases out, that might help get you there?
That's the goal. That's the goal. But I mean, like, it's a labor of love. Like, the releasing is a labor of love. Like when it comes to releases, I think most artists don't expect any return on those releases. It's just it's just hopefully we the back end of that is gigs, right? So
and this is not going to be your first release on the label, right?
No. I've got a few.
Yeah. So what was the first one like?
Oh man, it was amazing and awful at the same time.
Please tell me.
Because I wasn't ready, right? Like, and that label wasn't like ready to. Their artists weren't ready, and like it was amazing because I got a little bit of recognition because someone's like, "Oh man, I like your music," but at the same time, it's like, "Hey, like the music wasn't good," you know?
Yeah, I mean, that's where we all start out.
Yeah. So, looking back, I'm like, "Ooh, I'm a little embarrassed of the music," but it was one of the most exciting times of my life.
I would assume so. It's just like getting that email. I was like, hey, we'll take your track.
Yeah,
It's like a high just writing it, huh?
yeah, yeah. It was a Ukrainian label.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was this, and it was this Ukrainian hard techno label because that's kind of where that was my first.
Your first release was a hard tech?
It was like 135, 100. Yeah, and then I've calmed down since, but like, yeah,
Interesting. Okay, I'm definitely gonna dig that one up. And is it on Spotify?
yeah, it is. No, it's on Beatport, and I forgot the label name. I want to say it's Puzzle Music Underground.
Puzzle Music Underground.
And I don't even know if they're around anymore, but like, yeah, it was.
I'll find it one way or the other.
It was not a good release, but it's still frightening. I'm still, yeah.
But it's like what do you call it? Like an achievement, in my opinion.
Yeah, 100%.
I feel like, looking back for me 5 years, it's like, damn, I came a long way. And I guarantee you 5 years from now, you're gonna look back, it's like, damn, I came a long way.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't think like this journey ever, like, it's just a continuous growth kind of thing. There's no, as long as you put just as much effort, as much love into it, you're gonna be different from where you started.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
So, all right. So we got the production, we got the music, the DJing. This is one interesting one. I think we were talking a little bit about this, building a brand. I've noticed you've been posting a lot more. You've been more active, which I love, honestly. I love like you're posting. It kind of motivated me to kind of get behind a camera too. I'm going to be honest.
Okay.
So how was that for you? Because you are a little bit camera shy.
Very.
Yeah.
It's super hard for me because I don't like being behind the camera. I like to be the kind of weird DJ in the corner. Like when I grew up, it was a weird DJ kind of like, and I like to be that dude that just like plays music and that's it. And like, but we're not in a place or time that we can do that.
Yeah,
and we haven't been in a long time. So I can't pretend that we are. So if I want to put my music in the best light, then I have to,
get behind a camera.
Get behind a camera and be personable and connect with people. And I think that's kind of beautiful too. I've learned to love it because it is cool, and people are like, hey, I remember that piece of content, or like that impacted me in some sort of way, and that was really cool. And I'm like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. That means like so much to me.
So I see that your wife has the camera. Is she kind of like your personal photographer?
Yeah, I think she's doing a wonderful job. But
No, that's what I'm saying. I see the photos and I'm like, that's not an iPhone.
Yeah,
I know it's not an iPhone.
Yeah, 100%. I've loved the journey of it, and my wife has found a little bit of purpose from it as well, and I really that makes my heart warm more than getting the good shots, which it's like a
getting
product of it's like a product of.
His wife was just like,
no, but like she really does love it, and that makes me super fucking.
So how did that kind of? I would love to hear the story of like how you guys got to that point where you were like, I need to start posting more. Was it just you doing it yourself, or did she pick up the camera and then you kind of started?
So I got this DJI gimbal for an iPhone. The mobile 6 or whatever, and I was just kind of toying with it because I was like, I've got to get content. And, but like the stuff on the phone for me just wasn't that appealing. And I just like the crispness of some of the things that other people were getting. And through that, we're like, hey, why not get a good camera? And
I know. Hey, when he said you want FX30, he's like, man, this is good taste.
Yeah. And we ended up with the A7 III, which is like, I think, a good starting point.
In my opinion, when it comes to videos, Sony's definitely the way to go.
Yeah, I think overall, I think right now Sony's crushing it.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And then what lens are you using? I always like to.
It's just like a 28 to 72 variable.
Perfect.
But you can get everything you need with that.
Yeah. Huh. So you had the very viral video that on your page. Was the camera set up behind you and you're just recording your whole set?
Yeah, I just tripoded it and just left it there, and just kind of pick and chose, kind of a little interesting bit because one of my friends was right in front, and she was just like
dancing her heart out.
Yeah, she heard one of my songs and just like, heck yeah.
Are you gonna post your whole set for that on video and on YouTube, or is that just more for content?
That was just for content because I don't have the audio that came with.
Okay.
So that would
that would. It's okay. I can help you with that. Yeah, it's not that hard.
Really?
No. Honestly, yeah. Like this is a little extreme, like you saw, but this is more for podcasting. But you can get like little Zoom ones that are like literally this big. Like it can fit in the palm of your hand. And you just plug it into the record out and you're good to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet.
And then that's what a lot of DJs do too. So you'll always see it. If you know where to look, if you ever see DJs performing on the big stage or anything, if you look where all the cables are at, 9 times out of 10, you're going to see like a little recorder there. And what they do is that they just let the audio on their camera run. And then they line up the music with what's recorded and that's it,
Sweet.
So it's not that hard. I always tell people, like, just hit me up and I can give you the rundown.
For sure. I thought you had audio straight into the...
No, every mixer has a record out. So it's just 2 little plugs that come out and you just plug into the side and you're good to go. You just press record. Yeah, as long as you're not one of those redliner DJs that is distorting the hell out of it and everything. All right, we got that fixed. So let's get our thoughts together. We're pretty much talking about your time out in the forest with your friends, and she was dancing, and you're recording the audio. We'll just start off, get back on track about talking a little bit more about the content creation stuff, and then we'll go straight into the music. But can you just kind of tell us again about like your journey with the content creation and what you plan to do with? You were talking about create almost music videos for your project.
So the goal for the content creation side of it is mainly to tell story. So I feel like for me anyway, connecting a story to music is something that has been lost, especially in the house and techno realm. Like I was saying before with like the MTV stuff, like waking up and see. I like a little bit of that back in a maybe a little bit more modern way. And
I can see that, like more focused on the Instagram reel, because that's where we see everything these days. Yeah. I was wondering, back in the day when you were getting into electronic music, was there music videos to a lot of these tracks that you would see, or not really?
Not really. Like that early 2000 MTV stuff is all I can really think of. And
did they play electronic music on?
Yeah, if you woke up early enough. If you woke up early enough, there would be like, I'm Blue, or like, those cheesy like early,
the ones that we grew up with.
Yeah. And I think some of it's like Sandstorm was actually kind of a cool music video. I don't know if you remember that music video. It was like this long chase thing, and it was just like this really neat video for the time, right?
Yeah.
Corny as heck.
Looking back.
I would not watch it now. But like at the time, I was just like, this is so cool. And I kind of want to create some of those stories with my content, and I think that can draw people in. And
I mean, you're definitely. I mean, I think that would be great, pulling the nostalgia factor on it. 100%. And I think that's the biggest thing when it comes to like this world of content creation, of artists needing to not only be producers and DJs but be content creators. Is like, what's your style? What's your vibe? Everyone needs to kind of have their own more. I call them gimmicks of like, like this is my taste. I tend to gravitate towards more like dramatic, cinematic type vibes. If you see my video productions, it very much has that. Even my music, I tend to kind of gear towards very more ethereal, choir. It sounds like straight out of a movie kind of thing. So for you want to kind of like embody the more nostalgia factor.
Nostalgia, and back to I love groovy stuff. I love grooves, and I like groovy stuff that can, be a little bit nostalgic. And melodic and fun. And
So you have a strong background. You have a cumbia track coming out. Before we get into that, how good of a dancer are you, though? Because I know cumbia.
not a No, I get down. I like to have fun. You know, like, I'm not a good dancer.
I had to ask.
Yeah.
So yeah, you have the cumbia track. Explain it a little bit further. It's an electronic cumbia.
Yeah. So the kick is like a 808 kick, and then the bass line's a electronic synthesizer, and the rest of it's kind of live instrumentation.
Yeah.
And vocalist on top with the accordion kind of playing.
Yeah.
In the breakdown. And yeah.
So you're using more like live recorded, so it still has that human element to it. The vocalist, how did you find her?
On Fiverr.
Oh, Fiverr.
Sure, on Fiverr,
Okay.
yeah.
I love using Fiverr.
It's the best. Yeah.
So did you have an idea, or did you kind of, hey, go with it?
For that girl in particular, since she's so talented, I'm pretty much on that one. I sent her a batch of 10 songs, and I was just like, write hooks, do you? And that cumbia kind of style song was on there, and she just crushed it, and it completely made it into a cumbia track.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then how does it work with like I don't want to say legal side, but just like you have all the rights to it and then it's all yours. You do it what you want.
Yeah. I paid for the service of songwriting, and then I own the rights to release them.
That's awesome. So you have your own personal vocals now.
Yeah.
No,
like I own the samples. I own the rights to the samples.
Yeah. So you can technically reuse it in other tracks wherever you want.
Yeah. Wow. I own publishing. I own.
I'm going on Fiverr.
If there's ever a commercial Fiverr, that's it right there. Yeah.
Okay. So would you consider that a strong tool for a lot of producers to use?
100%. It's a completely underused tool, in my opinion, as well.
Yeah, because like, especially these days, because obviously there's like Splice, there's Loop Cloud. You can find some good stuff in there, but it's just, you know what? I started to notice I can hear samples as like, you pulled that from Splice.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know, especially vocals.
Mm-hmm. The popular vocals are everywhere.
Yeah.
And I think that just, for me, that just lacks originality.
Yeah, no, you're right. But I feel like it's something that people are a little too scared to delve into just because like they're not aware of, you know, sometimes people think like, oh, I got to write the lyrics. I got to find a vocalist. I got to record them. But no, Fiverr, just here you go.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah.
And it turned out like I had a couple of revisions, and I can go over some of the lyrics and be like, hey, I didn't like this. And just, be very specific.
And
but
you said 10 tracks that you
I try to batch things up for they can just have a bunch of music to work on.
Gotcha.
And then I'm just working on the music that I'm working on.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I've sent out to many vocalists.
Interesting. And then, I mean, you said you sent out to many vocalists over time. Do you kind of filter out as like, all right, now I have my core group of vocalists? Or are you still kind of like, I want to try and
dude. Really? Wherever I can find underappreciated talent. I mean, at the end of the day, it's a business, right?
Yeah.
And how do you make a good business? You find something that's undervalued, and you make margins on them, and that's kind of like I'm trying to run a business.
And that's, no, I love that you said that, because more or less now that I'm starting to like, I need to have more identity on social media, to think of yourself as not just a producer and DJ, but also as a product. It sounds bad. It's like to kind of make yourself sound like, but you're selling a service of playing music for people, giving them an experience.
100%.
How can you sell yourself, right? And you're doing it now. You're crushing it with the content. The videos are coming out, which I love. You have a lot of releases we can look forward to. And then just hopefully now we get to see you play gigs. You have your, what was it called? Soul State?
Soul State.
Yeah.
Hopefully in January. Fingers crossed.
Hopefully
everything works out.
So would the Soul State event it'll be in Vegas?
More or less.
At least right now, is there any like hard dates we can expect, or just kind of up in the air right now?
Up in the air right now. First release of next year is going to be mid-January. Okay. We're aiming for the 17th.
Okay, so mid-January
So
17.
so that'll probably be close to the date of the event.
Events. Okay. And are we expecting like more of like a warehouse or
Hopefully desert.
oh, a desert party.
Hopefully desert.
Okay. Desert in Vegas. That sounds fun.
Yeah.
All right.
It's gonna be cold, but
Yeah, I got sweaters for days.
Yeah.
We're good to go. Well, I mean, we're pretty much wrapped up here, but thank you so much for coming out, dude.
No, thank
It
you,
was such a great conversation. Is there anything you'd just like to tell the audience before we wrap up, or
just thank you from the bottom of my heart. Like anytime someone appreciates what I'm doing, I'm like so thankful for it. So
oh, dude, you got me so excited for next year. No.
I really, really appreciate you having me.
Yeah, no, definitely. We'll definitely be bringing you back next year to hear about everything you've done and what you plan to do next year. All right. Thank you very much.